Okay. Okay, this is the first day of years in 2021, grade 11, first session. Okay, here today we have to learn about these tissues, living tissues of organisms. So this comes under the order and organization of the body. So this is a certain level of the order and organization of the body. Okay, so let's see what are the things in the tute. Okay, come. So this is your cover page. I think all of you can see this. Okay, and so this is the introduction of cell, because first of all you have to know about cells before learning about tissues, because collection of cells, a group of cells is considered to be as a tissue with the same origin and specified to perform a certain function or functions. Okay, so this is that basic part. Okay, actually the cells and organelles, so that part also in this tute. So it has already been included in the tute, but that's as a revision. So you have to revise these things as you learned in grade 10. But today we are commencing the lesson from the grade 11 tissues level onwards. Okay, so let's see. So cell organelles, and so this is a cross section of plant, but unfortunately this part is unavailable in the syllabus now. Yes, comparison of plant cell and animal cell. So this is the classification of tissues. So what we have to learn. Okay, a little bit zoomed in. Okay, so this is how the tute is. If you ask to print this, definitely I'll do that and send to you. Okay, so this colorful tute. Okay, good. So and animal tissues. Okay, that's all. Good. I'll stop the share. Okay, so living tissues. Living tissues. So what does it mean by a tissue? So what's that organizational level of the body of an organism? Good. So you can message. To begin with, there's a message. Tute එක PDF එක group එකකට දාන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා කියනවා. හරි? එතකොට පුතා දැන් අපි මේක tute එක මම දාන්නම්. ඒක ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ. No watermark. You can print it. You can share it. හරි? වෙන කොහේ හරි පන්තියක හරි share කරන්න මේ කිසිම ගැටලුවක් නෑ. So you can do that. Okay? Here onwards, no watermarks. You can take a clean printout, but I'll try to print you this and mail you. Okay. හැබැයි මේ ටියුට් එක බලාගෙන ඉගෙන ගන්නවා නම්, so you have to use a separate monitor, separate tab, but that resource is limited to everyone. No? Therefore, I'll teach you in my usual way without a tute and all the things in your mind. Okay, so that's the way. I think that's the best thing. Okay, after this session I'll send you. Good. Okay, so you can communicate through this chatting applet here. Okay, already said that's default chat room. Thank you. Good. Sir, are you doing the tute? No. This is not a tutorial class. Okay, this is a theory class. I just teach you the lesson, but the content of this lecturing is also the content of the tute. So that's order I follow it. Okay, but that initial part is the living cells. So that part is grade 10. So I am not going to do now that initial grade 10 cell theories and associated things. Okay, so let's begin the living tissues. Okay, in this lesson, we learned animal tissues and plant tissues separately. First of all, we have to know what this tissue is and what is the level of the tissues in the order and organization of the body. Okay, now you know the non-living things, element atoms, element atoms. Okay, so these things comes under order and organization. So different element atoms combine together to form what? Molecules. Okay, so these molecules like carbon atoms, oxygen, hydrogen, you know them in grade 10, the major elemental constituents that exist in major biological compounds. Okay, so carbon, oxygen like element atoms combine together to form carbon dioxide and oxygen, hydrogen. So that simple molecules like H2O as well as, so these elements react together to form these small molecules, and these small molecules combine together to form that macromolecules. Macromolecules. Macro, large molecules. So what are the large molecules? You know, carbon dioxide, water. As just as you say this carbon dioxide and water, you remember that special process that happens in green plants with the help of sunlight, and the chlorophyll pigments helps to absorb sunlight. So by using them, what is produced? So that a kind of, what kind of reaction? That kind of biochemical reaction is known as anabolic reaction. So that's photosynthesis, and macromolecule is formed glucose C6 H12 or 6 actually. So this is the initial product. That's not much complex compound. So large number of these glucose molecules combine together to form big carbohydrates. Okay, so that's macromolecules. Carbohydrates, carbohydrates. Puta, tell me, can you clearly read this? Okay, that's just enough. If you can see this C carbohydrates, like if you can guess, that is enough. Okay, next one is protein. Protein and carbohydrates, similar but somewhat different. So another major biological molecule, macromolecule, is what? Lipid. Okay, that's lipid. And nucleic acids. Nucleic acid. So these are the things you know already, cramped in grade 10. Don't worry if you don't know them. I'll revise them again in another class. Okay, good. So these macromolecules combine together to form what? You have crammed these things. You have studied these things, or sometimes you may have crammed these things. Okay, but our way is not cramming. So what we are doing is just logically keep these things in our mind. Logical thinking and logical storage. Okay, so now you are doing these things by using your mobile phones and computers. So they are also processing them in a logical process. So likewise, brain is completely logical, and what you store there without a logic, it will be a volatile memory. Okay, volatile වාෂ්ප වෙනවා. Logic එකක් නැතුව ඔලුවට දාන එක පුතා නැතුව යනවා. ටික දවසකින් අමතක වෙලා යනවා. Without a logic, so these things are not lasting. හෙල්ලෙන මනස වගේ නේද? ඔය දාපුවා වෙච්ච දෙයක් නැති වෙනවා. එක්සෑම් එකට පවුදා මොකුත් මතක නැහැ. So that's how the way of cramming. Okay, so these element atoms combine together to form molecules, and molecules combine together to form these macromolecules. So macromolecules like these carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, nucleic acids, so they are combined together to form organelles. Organelles. Okay, so I want to check your previous knowledge. Please make a list of organelles. Good. The major organelle, huge one. What's it? In the center of the animal cells, sometimes in the periphery of the plant cells. Yeah, good. That's yes, nucleus. That's not mitochondria. Okay, so that nucleus is the largest and main organelle. So nucleus and yes, good mitochondria, that energy producing center. So that associated with a catabolic reaction called so respiration. So Golgi body, good. Vacuole, yes. Ribosomes, Golgi, Golgi complex, ribosomes, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, rough endoplasmic reticulum, as well as, yes, what? Some of organelles are used, appeared in near to the process of cell division. Cell division වෙද්දී සමහර එව්ව වෙන්න පටන් ගන්නවා. Okay. One is centrioles. Chromosome දෙපැත්තට අදින්නේ centrioles. Glyoxysomes, peroxisomes. Okay. So there are lots of organelles that are not in our syllabus but exist in cells. Cell වල තියෙනවා. Syllabus එකේ නෑ. Okay, no matter. Good. Macromolecules and organelles. So these organelles combine together to form cells, living cells, and these living cells are combined together to form tissues. Okay, and tissues combine together to form organs, then systems. Finally, what is formed? අවසාන වශයෙන් මොකද්ද හැදෙන්නේ? No answer. Okay. Organism. Okay. හොඳ තැනකට පුතාලා ආවේ. ඔයාලා හොඳ දෙයක් තමයි මට දුන්නේ. So I can continue from that onward. ඔව් නිවැරදි උත්තරෙත් ආවා. Multicellular organism. Who is you? Arunalu Isuri. Okay. Thank you. Now look at this. This tissues. So this is our lesson. So this is the position of the order and organization of the body. So that has been allocated for tissues. Okay, quickly take down a screenshot. Okay, print screen. Okay. So this is order. And organization. So order and organization is another characteristic, another feature that is peculiar to these organisms. Order and organization. So each of the stages are the organizational levels of the body. Organizational levels of the body. Good. Now let's take down the topic tissues. Good. I'll erase these things. Okay, tissues. A tissue is made up of collection of cells, group of cells. A tissue is considered to be a group of cells, but only being a group of cells, it is not considered as a tissue. Okay. මේ cells ගොඩක් එකතු වුණා කියලාම tissue එකක් කියන්නේ නෑනේ. Okay, let's see what is that. So this is a cell. So you can see now collection of cells, a group of cells. So that's a group of cells. When this group of cells with a same origin, okay, group of cells. So with the same origin, with the same, with the same origin, sambhavekai. So origin, so they are originated from the same genitive epithelium. හරි එද මේකම තැනකින් තමයි මේගොල්ලෝ සම්භවය වෙලා තියෙන්නේ ඇති වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. So they are originated from the same types of mother cells. So that's same origin. And the second thing is specified to perform a certain function or functions. They are specified, specified, specified to perform certain function. Sometimes functions specified to perform a certain function or functions. Function or functions. Because there are some of tissues specified to perform not only a single function but also to perform a large number of functions. For an instance, our blood tissue, it performs that transportation function as well as the defense function. Okay, that white blood cells exist, so they protect our body. It performs the defense or protection function in addition to that transportation. Good. So the characteristic features, okay, so special features of a tissue is so with the same origin and specified to perform a certain function or functions. But we can see some examples in this living world. There are collection of cells. There are group of cells, but not specified. Not specified. Okay. So they are not specified as the root system, stem, leaves, okay, fruits, and they are not specified. They just a collection of cells. නිකම්ම cells ගොඩක් විතරයි. ඒගොල්ලන්ට කියන්නේ අපි tissue එකක් නෙමෙයි. So group of cells with the same origin and specified to perform a certain function or functions, they are known as tissues. But group of cells, okay, that group of cells not specified to perform a certain function or functions, so they are known to be just thallus. It's known to be a thallus. Can you understand now the difference between cells and thallus? හරි. බලමුකෝ මේ සමහර දුවල පුතාලා ඉන්නවා මේ දැනුම හොයනවා. සර්ලා උගන්නනකම් බලන් ඉන්නේ. මේ වෙනකොට ලෙසන් ඩවුන්ලෝඩ් කරලා පාඩම් කරලත් ඉවරයි. එහෙම ඉන්නවා. So I am also that kind of a reader. To say you the truth, I have read only a limited amount of novels. නැති තරම්. Short stories ලියන්න පුළුවන් හැබැයි. I can narrate stories as scientific things so we can write. But what I read is at least textbook. Several times I read the new things associated with our exams. Okay, So I'm not confined to this science, but also history and all the things we read with a desire. ආසාවකින් කියවන. So that's the way. Before you come to the class, you have to read that. So I'll send you the link for this textbook. මේ බලන්න මේක දැන්නම් download කරන්න එපා. හරි? So that's your textbook first part. So you can download it later, not now. Okay, if you want that, you can save it, or you can simply go to the www.edupub.government.lk. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so I want that kind of students. So now I hope an answer for that kind of students. පුතා කියන්න තැලස් පෙන්නන organismලා දෙන්නෙක් මට. Very good. Hiroshi, algae. One is algae. Algae. Okay. Another one, fungi. Algae and fungi. One examples for this algae. So this shape of algae. What's that? I think you know this. Okay. So mushroom කියලා දුවෙක් කිව්වා. එයා හිතන විදිහත් හරිම හොඳයි. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් දකින්න එදිනෙදා දකින්න ලැබෙන example එක තමයි කියන්නේ. That's one way of learning. Okay. So that mushroom means the kind of fungi that is belonging to Basidiomycetes fungi. Basidiomycetes කියන fungi type එකට තමයි ඔය හතු නැත්නම් mushroom අයිති වෙන්නේ නේ. poisonous ඒවා තියෙනවා, හොඳ ඒවා තියෙනවා. හරිම රසයිනේ. So delicious. සමහර ඒවා තියෙනවා දැක්කම බය හිතෙන ඒවා රසට උයලා රසට එකපාරක් කන්න පුළුවන්. ආයෙ නැගිටින්න හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ. Okay, so let's take down this little flow chart. And if this group of cells are with the same origin and specified to perform a certain function or functions, so that's a tissue. Very good. If they are not having a specified cells, a specified collection of cells or specified group of cells, so that's just a thallus. Very good. A student is asking a question. අපි යාට පොඩි chance එකක් දෙමු. Okay. Sir, ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහුවට කමක් නැද්ද sir? එක ටිකක් sir පහන් හරි. මේ දුව අහනවා ඒක ටිකක් ප්‍රශ්නේ මෝඩ් එකක් වගේලු. එහෙම අපි කවදාවත් ඉන්සල්ට් කරන්නේ නැහැ. ෆිසිකල් ක්ලාස් එකක නම් අපි යෝග කියලා හයියෙන් hina වෙනවා. හරි. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයාලා අපි ඔක්කොම ෆැමිලි එකක් වගේ බොහොම ක්ලෝස් වුණාම. දැන් එහෙම එකක් නැහැ. හරි. අහලා බලමු. මේ මෝඩ නෑ. ප්‍රශ්න හොඳයිනේ ඔයාලගේ. සර් පහන් පත්තු කරන්න ඇයි සර් කොකනට් ඔයිල්ම ගන්නේ? වෙන ලික්විඩ් එකක් ගන්න නැත්තේ ඇයි සර්? මෝඩ නෑ. මෝඩ නෑ. That's out of our lesson. හොඳ උත්තරයක් මට තියෙනවා. ඒක විනාඩියකින් දීලා එමු උත්තරේ. So okay. වෙන ගන්න පුළුවන් alternatives හිතන්න. You take kerosene. Kerosene. Pahan means the light source. That may be electric pahan. It can electric bulb light ne pahan. That may be a source of fuels. Fuel එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන් මොකක් හරි hydrocarbon oil එකක්. Good. So එහෙම අපිට පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්. So what's the situation we use that? මොන වගේ අවස්ථාවකද අපි ඒක පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ? ගෙදර ආලෝකමත් කරන්න නම් ඒ පහනට කෙරොසින් තියෙන එකට අපි ලාම්පු කියලා වෙන නමක් කිව්වට පුතා ඒකත් පහනක් තමයි. හරි? විදුලි පහන. හරි? තේරුණා නේද? ඔක්කොම මෝඩනේ. ඒ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න හොඳයි අපි හිතන පිළිවෙල. The way of thinking we can understand. According to the situation, the term is different. According to the requirement, okay? According to the purpose, so that term varies. ඔය පුතා හිත ඇතුලේ තියෙන්නේ ඔය කියන පහන කිසියම් පූජනීය පුජ්‍යලයක් වෙනුවෙන් පත්තු කරන එකක් ගැන ඔය අහන්නේ. හරි? මට අර තේරෙන හින්දා මම මේ කියන්නේ. If that's for Lord Buddha or we light candles for Jesus or Almighty Gods, ඒවට පෙට්‍රල් ඩීසල් දාන්න බෑ. sacred නේ. ගෞරවණීයයි. හරි නැත්තම් තියනවා. අබ තෙල් පාවිච්චි කරනවා. mustard oil. මේ වගේ ටිකක් වැදගත් දෙයක් තමයි පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. නැත්නම් අනිත් දේවල්. Another thing is volatility. Some of fuels are so volatile. These volatile things cannot be used එකපාර vaporize වෙන හින්දා එකපාර ගිනි ගන්න. එතකොට මේ පුජ්‍යලයා ලයිව් එක කෙනෙක් නම් එයාට නම් පහනක් තිබ්බේ පෙට්‍රල් දාලා මොකද වෙන්නේ? ගාව වෙටිය ගිනි ගන්නවා. පූජනීය පුජ්‍යලයාත් පැනලා දුවනවා. මේ වගේ හරි something out. But thank you making us so funny. හරි මම එයාගේ නම කියන්නේ. හරි මේ කට්ටිය fuels types ගන්න තමයි petrol, diesel. Okay, thank you. Good. I think now you have taken down this. Now take down the definition for tissues. Right. Tissues are the group of cells. Tissues are the group of cells with the same origin, and specified to perform a certain function or functions. Specified to perform a certain function or functions. Okay, so you have to practice it. එකපාරක් ලියාගෙන නිකන් ඉන්නේ නේ. හරි? කොහොමද මේක මතකයට දාගන්නේ? ලියලා ඉවරලා ඒකම කියව ඉන්නවා ගුරුවරයා ඊළඟ කොටසට යනකම්. So that's the way of keeping them in mind. So what you usually do? You take down the definition. දැන් හරි. වෙන එකක් මතක් කරනවා. ඊය ගහගෙන හිටපු මේ පොඩි ප්‍රශ්නයක් මේ දැන් මේ එළිය lightning. Okay, I'm using a wired mic. ඒක පාට මේ sound එකක් ආව ඔයගොල්ලන්ට feel උනත් දන්නේ ඒක. If lightning occurs, definitely. So you have to find another teacher for classes. Okay. මම ජීවිතේ පරදුවට තියා උගන්වන්නේ අපි. Okay. So කිය හිටපු එකත් අමතක වුණා. එහෙනම් ඉගෙන ගන්න දේ ගුරුවරයා ඊළඟ පොයින්ට් එක කියනකම්ම ස්ටඩි කරන්න. Until your teacher explain the next point. So you have to revise the first theory part, earlier theory part you learned. වෙන දේවල් මතක් කළොත් ඔළුවේ තැම්පත් වෙන්නේ වෙන දෙයක්. Good. Now, let's move. සාමාන්‍ය අපි ක්ලාස් එකක් කරද්දී ස්ටෝරීස් මතක් වෙනවා අපි කොහොම සැහැල්ලුවෙන් මේක ඉගෙන ගන්න. අර දුවගේ කතාවත් එක්ක මට වෙන දුවලා අහපු ප්‍රශ්න ගොඩක් මතක් වෙනවා. එක දුවෙක් ඔය වගේ එකපාරටම ඉලෙක්ට්‍රෝකෙමිස්ට්‍රි ඉගෙන ගන්න වෙලාවක when we are learning electrochemistry, okay, biology question එකක් අහනවා. මොකක්ද අහන්නේ? සර් හරකුන්ගේ අං එන්නේ කොහොමද? ඒ වගේ වහනවා. That's biological. ඉතින් මම biology answer එකක් දෙනවා. Again, so they ask, sir tap එකක් වහපුවාම වතුර එන එක නතර වෙන්නේ කොහොමද? මේ අපිට සාමාන්‍ය දෙයක් වුණාට මිනිස්සුන්ට ඇත්තටම තියෙන ප්‍රශ්න. හරි? ඉතින් අර ඒ වෙලාවට පොඩි ෆනි විදියට අපි ඒකට hina වුණාට ඒක පැහැදිලි කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් හොඳයි. Okay. So tissues, we learn animal tissues as well as plant tissues. Animal tissues and plant tissues. So you know, tissues are the collection of cells or group of cells with the common origin and specified to perform a certain function or functions. When such group of cells with the common origin, okay, group of cells with the common origin and specified to perform a function in animal's body, we call that animal tissues. Okay, when such a tissue exists, when such a group of cells with the same origin and is specified to perform a function in animal's body, so that's animal tissue. If it exists in plant's body, so that's a plant tissue. Okay, so take down the organizational level of tissues. Organizational level of tissues can be seen in plants and animals. In plants and animals. Sometimes group of cells sometimes group of cells exist in microorganisms within bracket alien කාගෙද fungi and algae. So they have group of cells, close bracket, but they are not specified to perform a certain function or functions. Therefore, they are known to be thallus. Okay, now take down subtopic plant tissues. Okay, what does it mean by a plant tissue? Group of cells that exist in plant's body and with the same origin and specified to perform a certain function or functions. So they are known to be plant tissues. Okay, mainly there are two types of plant tissues. One is meristematic tissue. The other one is meristematic tissue. The other one is permanent tissues. Okay, now take down the topic plant tissues. Write like this. When group of cells with a common origin and specified to perform a certain function of functions exist in animals body in plants body, in plants body. They are known to be plant tissues. පුතෙක් repeat කරන්න කිව්ව එක දැක්ක විතරයි plant tissue animal tissue වුණා එකපාරට. හරි. මම ආයෙත් කියන්නම්. දැන් ඔන්න කියපු විදිය කොහොම කියවීද දන්නේ. හරි බලන්න. When group of cells with a common origin and specified to perform a certain function of functions exist in plants or in plants body, it is known to be a plant tissue. Plant tissues are of two types. First one, meristematic. Meristematic tissue. Meristematic tissue. මෙතන ඉංග්ලිෂ් තමයි ඕනේ. Meristematic tissue කියන්නේ මොකක්ද කියලා කියන්න ඉංග්ලිෂ් ඕන. අපි චූට්ටක් බලමු. දැන් මේ 11 වසරකට ආපු ඔයාලගේ මෙන්න මේක ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් කියන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා. Meristematic tissues කියන්නේ පුතා plants are having these meristematic tissues in the apical bud. Okay, in the apical bud. So that exists in shoot apical or root apical. So that's like this. I'll draw it like this. So this is a plant. Okay, so it's having a taproot system and branches. So you can see that, and you can see this apical. Agrasthe dakinna puluwa. You can see it. Here, if we magnify it 1,000 times, we can see it. Here, a collection of tissue. So they are specified to perform a certain function. So what that specified function is to form new cells. So they are continuously dividing by the cell division process called meiosis or mitosis. Meiosis or mitosis. Meiosis mitosis දන්නේ නැත්නම් අන්න channel එකේ තියෙන lesson එක බලන්න. Okay, meiosis mitosis කියලා නෙමෙයි අපි එක කතා කළේ. මොකද්ද? Inheritance වල කියලා දුන්නේ. Good. So that's good. Mitosis. Meiosis උනොත් මෙතනින් හැදෙන්නේ එක්ක sperm cell එකක්. හරි ගහ උසයන් එක පැත්තකින් තියෙන එතනින් sperm cells. ගස්වල sperm cells in plants තියෙනවද? අතුරු ප්‍රශ්නයක්. Plants වල sperm cell තියෙනවද? බලන්න උත්තරයක් දෙන්න. What do you think? No. Yes? Yes. Yes, no. Yes, no. Plant cell sperm cells. Yes. Your answer is like yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. No, no. හුඟක් අය කියන්නේ no කියලා. තියෙනවා පුතා. මම කියන උදාහරණේ. සීකස් ප්ලාන්ට් එක දන්නවද? Do you know සීකස් මඩු ශාකය? ඇයි මම එහෙම දන්නවද කියලා අහන්නේ සමහර දරුවෝ දැකලා නැහැ මඩු සීකස්. Cecus plant is having a sperm cell. නිකම්ම sperm cell එකක් නෙමෙයි. ඒකේ තියෙනවා පිරිමි ගහ ගැහැණු ගහ. Okay? So they have two plants, okay? Male and female. So female plant, so that's creating a huge flower-like structure. මඩු මල හැදුනා කියන්නේ මලක් නෙමෙයි. Okay. So male plant produce sperms. වලිගය එකද තියෙන්නේ? That is having two. දෙකයි. වතුරේ පීනගෙන දෙයන්නේ නේ හුළඟට යන්නේ. It's moving across the wind from male plant to female plant. පිරිමි ශාකයේ ඉඳලා ගැහැණු ශාකයට යන්නේ හුළඟ දිගේ. එහෙම එකක් වුණොත් අපිට then girls are having a reasonable reason. එතකොට ගැහැණු දරුවන්ට සාධාරණ හේතුවක් තියෙනවා. මොකද දුවේ ඔය කියලා අම්මා අහුවම හුළඟට වෙන්න ඇති අම්මේ කියලා කියන්න පුළුවන්. Okay, so these sperm cells exist in plants. ඔන්න ඒ වැරද්ද නිවැරදි වුණා. එහෙනම් අද ඉඳන් දැනගන්න. Ceacus, some of mosses, මඩු ශාකය මේ වගේ ගස් වලට තියෙන මොනවද? Sperm cells they are having. But it is not occurring this meristematic tissues. May apical meristem එක. මේ වගේ, so they are having a tissue that is continuously dividing to form new cells. Okay, and new cells are formed. So that's meristematic tissue. After they are produced, so that's here. These cells are elongated. Cells දික් වෙන කලාපය. After elongating, so they are differentiated into leaves, and some of them are differentiated into another tissues. So they are adapted. They are differentiated. So this tissue is called meristematic tissue. What's its function? මොකක්ද ඒකේ function එක? So it is continuously subjecting to the process of cell division. Okay, now definition. I want the definition. So what's a meristematic tissue? I want to know the definition of meristematic tissue. Meristematic tissues are the tissues එයාගේ cells වලට cell division process එකට ලක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Meristematic tissues are the tissues of which cells are being subjected to the process of cell division. Of which cells are capable of being subjected to the process of cell division. Okay, right. First type, meristematic tissues, and right here, meristematic tissues are the tissues. Meristematic tissues are the tissues of which cells, of which cells are capable of so next term must be a noun or verbal noun of being, B-E-I-N-G, being, okay, of which cells are capable of being subjected of being subjected. Cell division ක්‍රියාවලිය, the process of cell division, being subjected to the process of cell division. Good. Thank you. ඒ විදිහට මතකින් කිව්වද? Sadisha, good. Meristematic tissues are the tissues of which cells are capable of being subjected to the process of cell division. So nice sentence patterns. Okay. Make a book definition එකක් නෙමෙයි. So what automatically created when I was teaching in the class. I thought that's good definition to grab. Okay, so meristematic tissues are the tissues of which cells, look at this, meristematic tissues are the tissues of which cells are capable, මේක තියෙන cells වලටයි හැකියාව තියෙන්නේ. Cells are capable of being subjected to the process of cell division. So what's that cell division type? So that's mitosis. So we are not going to insert that part here. So meristematic tissues are the tissues of which cells are capable of being subjected to the process of cell division. Good. Next. There are three types of meristematic tissues. Let's define it and we'll go to the opposite type of meristematic. Then we draw the flow chart, then you can clearly understand this. Okay. So these meristematic tissues are of three types. So you have to write here, meristematic tissues are of three types. First one, apical. Apical meristematic. Apical meristematic tissue. Apical meristematic tissue. It's of two types. Okay, it's of two types. Shoot apical meristematic tissue. Shoot apical meristematic tissue. Kanda agrastya. So this is the shoot apical meristematic tissue. So look, you can see these roots, okay, at the tip of the root. So it is moving. Shoot apical meristematic tissue, make new cells down and it goes up. Okay, so new cells are created down, it moves up. Okay, so that's the function of this apical meristematic tissue. Shoot apical meristematic tissue. So what's the function of root apical meristematic tissue? Okay, look at this. I'll enlarge, I'll magnify this, enlarging. So you can see. So this is the root and here's the taproot. Okay, a lateral root is growing. And this is, so that's the root apical meristematic tissue here, boys. So this is the root apical meristematic tissue. So that's very soft. So this root apical meristematic tissue is very soft. So it is going through stones, particles, sand particles. So it may be damaged due to the friction. Okay. මේ ගල් අතරින් තමා මේක යන්නේ. So it moves across stones and sand particles. So it may be damaged. So how to avoid the damage? So this shoot apical meristematic tissue පේනවද දන්නේ. It is having a structure like this. තොප්පියක් තියෙනවා. Root cap. Cap කියන්නේ තොප්පිය නේද? So we call that root cap. So automatically, naturally, so they are with a cap. So we call that root cap. Okay, so root cap protects the root apical meristematic tissue. So what protects this shoot apical meristematic tissue? හිතන්න ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ ඔළුව කියලා. Your head is shoot apical meristematic tissue. When you are going in heavy sunlight, what do? You cover your head with your hand. Book එකක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒකේ. මෙයාලත් එහෙමම කරනවා. So they have these tender leaves. So they are growing like here, okay, and covers it. And it's covered. It is covered. Heavy sunlight may damage it by sunburn, sunscorch. Okay, so it is avoided by these leaves. So real diagram I'll show here. I'll okay, so we draw that again. Look at this. So this is the tip of the plant, and you can see some of tender leaves here. And when it goes down, somewhat huge, matured leaves can be seen. Okay, so this is just like a covered part. Okay, so that's a covered part. What you do here, you take a longitudinal section, you cut it longitudinally, then you can observe this diagram. Okay, so that's the thing. So these leaves, these are the leaves with this green color. Okay, so this is leaves. So these leaves cover this inside. What inside? Shoot apical meristem. Okay, good. So that's funny. Okay, meristematic tissue. First one, apical meristematic tissue. That's of two types. Shoot apical, shoot apical meristematic tissue. The white color is not clear. No? Shoot apical meristematic tissue. And you know another one. What's it? What's it? Good. So that's root apical meristematic tissue. Shoot apical meristematic tissue, root apical meristematic tissue. So that's the first type of meristematic tissue, apical meristem. Where it exists? At the tip of shoot and at the tip of root. Good. The second type of meristematic tissue. දැන් ඔන්න පුතේ අමතක වෙනවා මොකද්ද meristematic tissue කියන්නේ කියලා. What's the meristematic tissue? So meristematic tissues are the tissues of which cells are capable of being subjected to the process of cell division. Okay, I think someone is calling for the disconnection. No matter. Let's move ahead. Apical meristematic tissue. So shoot apical meristematic tissue and root apical meristematic tissue. The second type of meristematic tissue exists where? ඊළඟට බෙදෙන්න පුළුවන් අලුතෙන් cells ඇති කරන්න පුළුවන් tissue එක කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ? No, no, not permanent tissues. We are discussing about this meristematic tissue. Apical meristem. ඔගොල්ලෝ දැකලා තියෙන ගස් උස යනවා විතරක් නෙමෙයි මොකද වෙන්නේ? What happens? It increases its diameter. මහතිනුත් වෙට. එන පැත්තටත් බෙදි බෙදී යන එකක් තියෙනවා. So that's lateral meristematic tissue. Lateral meristematic. Lateral meristematic tissue. The second type is lateral meristematic tissue. Okay, take it down. You can see here tissue. Good. First one, apical meristematic tissue. Second one, lateral meristematic tissue. පැත්තට වේදෙනවා. කවුද? දෙන්නෙක් ඉන්නවා. There are two types of lateral meristematic tissues. So that's first one. Xylem. No. Xylem and phloem are created. Look at this. Now I am drawing a well-grown cross-section of the stem. So this is the stem. Okay. Imagine this is root. Okay. So root, what you can see top of the soil, and there's a underground part also. That's taproot. I'm not continuing to grow that. Okay. So here you come across in the center. So we call that pith. The inner circle of tissues. So we call it water translocating tissue. So that's specified to translocate water, transportation of water. So what's that tissue? That tissue is known to be xylem. So that tissue is known to be xylem. Another tissue exists at the periphery of this plant stem. So that's known to be, so this part, it's known to be phloem. 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 So phloem and xylem. Phloem and xylem. Phloem is specified to translocate foods to both direction, but xylem is specified to translocate water to only upward directions like this. Water. Okay. So what's going to be explained here? කැමරා කන්ට්‍රෝල් ඉල්ලන්න එපා. මෙතන සයිලම් කියලා පුතාලා දන්නවා. මෙතන තියෙන්නේ ප්ලෝයම් කියලා දන්නවා. මේ ටිකයි focus වෙන්න ඕනේ. Okay? Don't request. I know what you do after requesting when I allow in to control the camera. So these cameras are not automatically focusing. Okay. So you cannot remotely handle them. එහෙම ඒවා තියෙනවා. බලමු gimbal එක high කරගන්න පස්සේ then you can rotate that. Now what you do, you select my other camera. So I have not connected that. Then suddenly screen switch off. Okay. So I decline your request. Look at this. මෙතන දැන් කෙනෙකුට හිතෙන්න පුළුවන්. So you will think අයියෝ ඔය මොකක්ද explain කරන්නේ? ඕක මොකක්ද? ඕක අපි දන්නවනේ. මේ බලන්න මේක දන්නවද කියලා? Look at this. So this is phloem tissue and this is xylem tissue. So xylem is specified to conduct water. Phloem P. Okay, so that's food translocation. And in between of that, there's a cell layer. We call that. So that's the required lateral meristematic tissue. It is given special name. යාට ලස්සන නමක් කියනවා. ඒ නම හැදුනේ කොහොමද කියලායි මම කියලා දෙන්න යන්නේ. Okay, now look at this. So this is well grown secondary phloem and secondary xylem. Okay, but when this plant is very smaller, very young, okay, like you, these xylems and phloems separately exist. So they exist separately like this. They exist like this. Okay, so these bundles, it exists as bundles. Bundle විදිහට තියෙන්නේ. So these bundles, a bundle then බලන්න drink in straw, බීම බට එකට එකතු කරලා bundle එකක් හදාගන්න like this. So this is bundle of marker pen. Okay, so likewise that bundles of food conducting cells, just like drinking straws collected together, it exists. Okay, it exists like this as a continuous canal, continuous tube. Okay, so but they are cells. There are 4 types of cells in phloem tissue. In xylem also there are 4 types of cells. Cell වර්ග 4ක් තියෙනවා. So new cells are created outwards and inwards. New cells are created outwards and inwards. As a result of this, what happens? This stem size increases. ඇතුළට අලුතෙන් cells හදලා දානවා. හිතන්න මම තමයි මේ. So I am the lateral meristematic tissue. I am creating new cells to in. Then I have to go behind. And new cells are created backside. Okay. New cells are created front side as well as back side. Then what happens? Back side එකටත් මේ පැත්තට දික් වෙනවා. Back side එකත් දික් වෙනවා. Front side එකත් දික් වෙනවා. ගහ මහතින් වැඩි වෙනවා. Okay, so those things happens. So lateral meristematic tissue. Then හිතන්නත් බැරිනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ පැත්තට දික් වෙනවා නම් lateral meristematic tissue තියෙනවද දන්නේ කියලා. එහෙම කියලා හරි මතක තියාගන්න. So you can keep that in mind. So lateral meristematic tissue. So at the middle of these vascular bundles, okay, sound it, practice it. මට හැවුනේ නැති උනාට කමක් නැහැ. Vascular bundles. So this lateral meristematic tissue exists at the middle of these vascular bundles. Therefore, this lateral meristematic tissue is represented by the vascular cambium. මෙයාට කියන නම මොකද්ද? What's the special name given to this? Vascular cambium. So that's vascular cambium. So that's vascular cambium. Okay. That's all. පැහැදිලි කරලා ඉවරයි. Now, let's write. Example is lateral meristematic tissue is represented by the vascular cambium. vascular cambium. So there's a nice flow chart in the tute. You can practice it. Okay. So that's the meristematic tissue. There's another meristematic tissue. So that space is not enough. So I'll write that here. So we call that intercalary meristematic tissue. So that's intercalary meristematic tissue. Third type is intercalary meristematic tissue. Let's see that. I think you have seen these types of plants. Look at this. So you can see how this type of structure there. Okay, you can see this. I think you can guess this plant. You can guess it now. So what's that plant? So that's Bambusa vulgaris, bambusa. Scientific name, Bambusa, bamboo. Okay. So you can see nodes. Okay. Nodes. So both sides of this node, you can observe a meristematic tissue. What's the function of this meristematic tissue? It increases the length of internode. It increases the length of internode. Okay, what's that particular meristematic tissue? Intercalary meristematic tissue that exists bambusa and some of grass plants, you can observe them. So that's intercalary meristematic tissue. Okay, almost all the types of meristematic tissues we have discussed. A new question is asked. Sir, vascular cambium එකක් අපිට හම්බෙන්නේ in dicots or monocots? Good question. There are two types of plants according to the cotyledons in the seed embryo. One is dicotyledonous plants, another one is monocotyledonous plant. For the first time, you come across that in grade 6. Okay. In your syllabus, that grade 7. Okay. Monocots and dicots. මම ඇඳලා පෙන්නන්නම්. I'll draw that. And monocotyledonous plants, so systematically, it has been nicely arranged like this. Nice vascular bundle. Okay, so this vascular cambium exists. Therefore, this girth size, this stem size increasing. But coconut and aragonite plants, so their stem size, so that's unique. It's not making larger, okay? Because their cross section, if you check that, these vascular cambiums, so that's not exist, and vascular bundles are randomly arranged. Okay, vascular bundles are randomly arranged. Therefore, no vascular bundle. No vascular cambium exists. Lateral meristematic tissue. එහෙම ලස්සනට කඳ මහත් වෙන්න නෑ. පුතා පැහැදිලි දෙයක ප්‍රශ්නේ අහපු කෙනා. ඕකේ. එහෙනම් මේ ඩයිකොට්ස් වල විතරයි යොක තියෙන්නේ. ඒක අපි මේ පාඩම එක detail පැහැදිලි කරද්දි කියනවා. Now what we do? Just introduction. This is just introduction. We commence the class at 7. Okay. Now a limited time. Okay. Let's see. So that's all about meristematic tissues. Now look at this. ළමයි පුතාලා මෙච්චර බයෙන් පන්ති කරනවාමයි මම්මේ. හොයි ලයිටන් වෙද්දි මේ චුරු චුරු ගාලා සද්දයක් එනවා. හරිද? So you can see my microphone. So this is a moving coil one. Thus you can clearly hear. මේක FM වුණා නම් ජරප්පක මං හෙලවෙද්දි සද්ද එනවා. දැන් මේ වයර් එක ගිහින් තියෙන මං හරහා මෙහෙම ගිහිල්ලා මම ගිහිල්ලා නැට්ට වගේ ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. Okay. So if suddenly lightning happens, I am frightened. අකුණට කලින් බය වෙලා වැටෙනවා. Okay. I think you expect that kind of thing. ඔයගොල්ලෝ දැන් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන අකුණක් වගේ දෙයක් මට hina වෙන්න. Okay. පරාණ බයෙන් පන්තිය කරන්න. Okay. So meristematic tissue. So that's what we learned. Okay. All the plant tissues, let's categorize. Okay. Meristematic tissues වගේ ටික කියන්න පුතාලා. මතකෙන් කියන්න. Okay. Initially I told you rather than making a note, we are cramming. Apical meristematic tissue. There are two types of apical meristematic tissues. One is shoot apical and root apical. Okay, next type, that's apical. So next, yes, good, lateral meristematic tissue. So what represent this lateral meristematic tissue? Lateral meristematic tissue එක කාගෙන්ද නිරූපණය වෙන්නේ? Who represent this lateral meristematic tissue? Yes, that vascular cambium. Vascular cambium represents the lateral meristematic tissue. Okay, next, there's another type. What's that? Good. Intercalary meristematic tissue. Tell me one example for a plant that is having that intercalary meristematic tissue. Bamboo. Bamboo. Okay, good. හොඳට තේරිලා තියෙනවා. So plant tissues. Plant tissues. Okay, good. Plant tissues are of two types. What are those two types of plant tissues? Mainly meristematic. Meristematic tissues. Okay, then after dividing, new tissues are formed, so they are specified. හැදෙනවා, specify වෙනවා. ආයෙ මුකුත් කරන්න යන්නේ නැහැ. වෙනෙව්ව කරන්න යන්නේ. පුතාලා ඉගෙන ගන්නවා. O level pass, A level pass, go to the university and do the special degree. Then you are specified to certain section. Molecular biology, microbiology. Okay. If you are engineer, electronic engineer, civil engineers. Okay. So electrics, electronics, and IT, robotics, software engineers. So you have specified, after specifying, you are not going to do other things. So that's permanent. So this is meristematic tissues and permanent. Permanent tissues. Okay, meristematic tissues, three types we learned. What's that? Apical, meristematic tissue. I'm a short form එක දැම්ම. හරි? And here lateral. Here intercalary. Intercalary. Spellings don't care. So apical meristematic tissue. Two types. Two types. What's those two types? Root apical, meristematic tissue and shoot apical meristematic tissue. So lateral, so that's represented by vascular cambium. Intercalary meristematic tissue. Yes, that's in the nodes of not forming plants like bambusa and grasses plants. The permanent tissues. Permanent tissues are of two types again. What are those two types of permanent tissues? Two types of permanent tissues. Simple permanent, and complex permanent. Okay, listen carefully. Simple permanent. Permanent means they are not subjected to the process of cell division. What's the meaning of permanent? These tissues are not subjecting to the process of cell division. So can the permanent tissues has the ability of පුතා මේ English තව carefully ලියන්න ඕන තේරුණාද? අපි English පටලලා ලිව්වොත් එහෙම so they identify us as the people who don't know English. නොමෙට මම ඔයාගේ idea එක ගන්න okay? So can the permanent tissues has the ability to divide and specialized like the meristematic tissues? No, never. This permanent means by the meaning of the name permanent tissues, so they are not subjecting to the process of cell division once they are arisen from a cell division. So what it does, yeah, specify when a function, it performs another function after it is emerged or arisen from a cell division process, specialized. Okay, so it is specified. So that's why we call them permanent tissues. So what does it mean by permanent? Simple. Permanent means not dividing. Simply මතක තියාගන්න. Permanent means not dividing, and simple means they have only one type of cell. They have only one type of cell. Look at this. So later, one by one, we explain them. තව ටිකකින් කියලා දෙනවා. So there's a certain type of plant cells. Okay, so they have primary cell wall, somewhat spherical shape cross section. Okay, so this is large central vacuole, and here's the nucleus. Large central vacuole and the nucleus. Because of this chat window, I cannot see how you see that. Okay, so another cell wall, large central vacuole, and the nucleus. Sometimes you cannot, sometimes, okay, when it occurs in plant leaves and tender shoots, it possesses chloroplasts also. It possesses chloroplasts. So you can observe large amount of spaces. These spaces are known to be intercellular air spaces. So they are known to be intercellular spaces. අන්තරසෛලීය අවකාශ වැඩිපුර තියෙනවා. So they possess intercellular spaces. So these types of tissues, they have only one type of cell, but not subjecting to the process of cell division. as they are not subjecting to the process of cell division, so they are known to be permanent. I within a permanent, but only one type of cell exists. Therefore, that is simple permanent. Can you understand? Okay, message me if you can understand. Send me why. Okay, why is coming rapidly? Enough. That's enough. Okay, you can understand. So permanent means not subject into the process of cell division. Simple means only one type of cell. So there are three types of simple permanent tissues. What are they? What are they? Parenchyma or parenchyma. Parenchyma, collenchyma or collenchyma, sclerenchyma. Okay, let's write parenchyma. Okay. Next, collenchyma or collenchyma. Here, sclerenchyma. Okay, rhyming, no? So rhyming. Parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. Complex. Oh, what does it mean by complex? Permanent, never subjected to the process of cell division. Complex means they have more than one type of cells. They have different types of cells. So example, for complex permanent tissues, there are two types of complex permanent tissues. You know them, culling and xylem and phloem. So that's xylem, and here phloem. Xylem cells හතරයි ඉගෙන ගන්නකොට ඉගෙන ගමු. Phloem cells types, 4 types. What do you think now? දැන් මොකද හිතෙන්නේ? මොනවා හිතෙන්නත් කලින් let's draw this. I'll give you sketch එකක් ගහගන්න. First of all, take screen or print screen. We have already given a little description about meristematic tissues as apical, root apical, shoot apical. So lateral meristematic tissue and intercalary meristematic tissue. Okay. So these things we have to write in brief. Okay. So you have taken down this and you have taken the print screen. May I erase this? Yes or no? Yes. Y for yes, N for no. YN. Okay. පුතා බය වෙන්න එපා වීඩියෝ එක එවනවා. අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම වීඩියෝ ෆයිල් එක දෙනවා. Okay. No matter. අර මේ දුවලා පොඩ්ඩක් girls ඔයාලා බය වෙලා ඇති මේ අර ෆොටෝ එකක් එවන්න for the registration. You have to send me a photo. Don't worry about that. By using your photo, none can take your mobile phone number. දැන් මේ zoom profile picture එකට ඔයාලගේ ෆොටෝ එක වැටුණා කියලා කාටවත් ඔයාලව හොයාගන්න බෑනේ. None can find you. The only thing I can find you. Uh, I welcome you. හෙට ඉඳන් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට YouTube live every day 1 hour. හැමදාම එක ප්‍රශ්නයක් 50 questions ප්‍රශ්න 50ක් our previous grade 10 වල ඒවා මුල්ල ඉඳන් පැහැදිලි කරනවා every day at 10 p.m. Tuesday and Wednesday for our කියන්නේ අදයි බ්‍රහස්පතින්දයි මේ පාර විභාග ලියන අයගේ 2020 O level students paper class. And on all other days 1 hour for one question. So that's YouTube live, not this Zoom class. Okay, YouTube channel එක subscribe කරන්න නැතුව හරි කැමති නම් subscribe කරන්න හරි කරලා ඔයගොල්ලෝ හරියටම හැමදාම 10ට එන්න. එතකොට අපිට පුළුවන් තව යාළුවෝ ඔක්කොටමත් කියන්න. හරි? So I want to teach you all අපි හැමෝම හැමදාම රෑ 10ට ප්‍රශ්නයක් සාකච්ඡා කරනවා. වඩාත්ම වටින්නේ මේ පාර විභාග ලියන අයට ඒගොල්ලන්ටත් එන්න කියන්න. So I invite you all to see it and take higher marks. Okay, so this I am working hard. Yesterday also when I sleep morning 5. උදේ 5 වෙනකන් වැඩ කළා. There are some days සමහර දවස් තියෙනවා මේ room එකෙන් එළියට කියලා ඉන්නේ. ගෙදර එළිය බිම compound එකේ සෑන් තියෙන්නේ. පෑගින්නේ. I'm completely in the house. ආසයි එළියට බහින්න ආසයි එළියට බහින්න බෑ. So I'm quite busy these days. Grade 6, grade 7 නංගිලා මල්ලිලා එවන්න එයාලගේ ලියන notes වෙන වෙනම අතින් බලන්න තියෙනවා. So I have to correct them. හරි? හදලා යවන්න ඕනේ. දැන් ගොඩක් තියෙනවා බලන්න අදත් නිදා ගන්න හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ. හරි? අදත් ගොඩක් තියෙනවා. Don't worry, grade 11 students ලා ඉන්නවනම් අපි paper class නතර වෙලා නැහැ. හිතලා නැවැත්තුයි. හරි? For certain reasons. ආය පටන් ගන්නවා. හෙට ඉඳන් තියෙනවා one question ගානේ ප්‍රශ්න 50ක් දවස් 50ක් විතර තියෙනවා. අපි ඩිස්කස් කරමු. හරි? Don't worry. A pass එකකින් තමයි නවත්තන්නේ. So that's A pass for science. Okay, good. Let's move. Now, under plant tissues, so we have already taken down them in brief. Now take down permanent tissues. Topic, take down permanent tissues. So that's permanent tissues. I'm not writing, so I want this space. Okay, write the topic, permanent tissues. Permanent tissues are the tissues, make your note. Permanent tissues are the tissues of which cells are specified or differentiated to perform a certain function or functions, once arisen from a single cell division, and will never be subjected, will never be subjected, and will never be subjected to the process of cell division, and will never be subjected to the process of cell division. Okay, once they are arisen from a single cell division process, they will never subjected to the process of cell division. And another special thing is they are specified to perform a certain function or functions. So they are differentiated. Only one type, they are arisen from a single cell division and will never subjected to the process of cell division, and they are adapted. They are specified. So they are differentiated to perform a certain function. So they are differentiated as roots, they are differentiated as leaves, they are differentiated as water conducting cells, xylem, and they are differentiated as food conducting cells, phloem tissues, tracheids and vessel elements in xylem tissue. Okay, so companion cell and sieve tube elements in එහෙම අලුත් જાතියක් තියෙනවා. අපි බලමු අපි මොනවද කියලා. Okay, next point take down. So that's how we define these permanent tissues. Okay, key points දෙකයි තියෙන්නේ. Only two key points. Never subjected to the cell division, permanent. Okay, permanent tissues. And specified to certain functions. That's the common feature of tissues. Next, take down. There are two types of permanent tissues. There are two types of permanent tissues. First one, simple permanent tissues. Simple permanent tissues. Simple permanent tissues. Explain කරලා describe කරලා ඊළඟට යන්න. Okay, by the term simple, what you know, what you identify by the term simple. Simple means they have only one type of cell. Okay, permanent, simple permanent. Simple permanent. Permanent means they will never be subjected to the cell division process again. Okay, good. Take down the definition for the simple permanent. Simple permanent tissues are the tissues. Simple permanent tissues are the permanent tissues. Okay, අපි පොඩ්ඩක් simplify කරමු definition එක. Simple permanent tissues are the permanent tissues. Simple permanent tissues are the permanent tissues with one type of cells. Okay, right. There are three types of simple permanent tissues. There are three types of simple permanent tissues. First one, parenchyma. Okay, so this parenchyma or parenchyma. So this Y. Okay. Next one, collenchyma or collenchyma. Okay, next one, sclerenchyma or sclerenchyma. Okay, simple permanent tissues. So we have to learn one by one. So there are common features. We have to draw the parenchyma tissue and we have to draw the collenchyma tissue. We have to draw these things. So special features, functions, we have to learn. Making diagram. So we have to draw the diagram and special features and functions we have to learn. Okay, good. Now take down under simple permanent tissue this parenchyma or parenchyma tissue. Okay, now start to draw with me. So top view. Okay, so that means top view of these cells. So they are this oval shape or sorry, there was a disconnection. Disconnect that's not a connection problem. I think that's a confusion. So that's ඔගොල්ලන්ට මේ lightning sound එක ඇහෙනවද? කිරිබිරි ගාලා. No, fortunately. නැත්තම් භාගයක් විතරම leave වෙලා. Alt එච්චර effect එකක් නෑ wired wire connection යන්නේ නේ. So I am with a wire connection. Okay, now you can see this. එක්කෙනෙක් detail අඳින්න. You have to draw one with details. අනිත් අය පස්සේ අඳින්න. So this is the cell wall. And then you can see this cell wall. And this is the large central vacuole. So this is the nucleus. Large central vacuole and nucleus. So nucleus is prominent, large central vacuole can be seen, and intercellular spaces can be seen. We write them intercellular spaces. So this is cross section, Haraskada cross section. Okay, and let's write this longitudinal section. මෙහෙම නම් අඳින්න එපා. Don't draw like this, okay? එහෙම මේ අර සිමෙන්ට් වලින් බැඳපුවා නැහැ. Right? So they are live. Okay, the very smooth and simple primary cell wall exists. Primary cell wall exists. And you can see here this intercellular spaces. Okay, so draw one with details. So this is large central vacuole and the nucleus. So nucleus exists at the periphery of the cytoplasm. Periphery කියන්නේ සිංහලෙන් මේකට කියනවා පර්යන්තයට වන්නට කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ මායිමේ at the boundary. So this nucleus exists. Okay, let's write them. So this is longitudinal section. So this is longitudinal section. Okay, so both are parenchyma tissues. No matter, take time. Take another minute and complete. ඔක්කොම අඳින්න එපා. ඒවත් පස්සේ complete කරන්න. So this is the cell, and you can see here also intercellular spaces. Good. Next, write features of parenchyma tissue. Okay, so this is simple permanent first type parenchyma. Okay, now we are going to study the features of parenchyma tissue. ඉවර කරලා දාමු. අපි ආයෙත් සැරයක් අර මේ meristematic tissues වල features ඒ දේවල් ඉගෙන ගන්නවා. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට අමුත්තක් දැනෙනවා ඇති මේ උගන්වන සිස්ටම් එකේ. ඇයි සර් ඔයාට තිබ්බනේ meristematic tissues ඔක්කොම ඉවර කරලා මෙතෙන්ට එන්න? That's boring. එකම දේ එකම තැන එලිලා ඉන්නකොට ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මේක එපා වෙනවා. Now you know all round. හැමදේම දන්නවා. හැමදේම දැනගෙන ටික ටික ඉගෙන ගන්න. So this is the method of storing the knowledge in your brain. මේ ඔළුවට මතකය ඇතුල් කරන පිළිවෙල. Okay? So එකක්වත් අමතක වෙන්න දෙන්නේ. If you learn something and stop, you learn another thing. Okay? Then previous thing forgotten. Now none is forgotten. Now write the topic features of parenchyma tissue. Features. Okay, first these external features. Okay, right. All are living cells. All the parenchyma cells are living tissues. Parenchyma tissue consists of living cell. And you can observe next one, take down, nucleus is prominent. Nucleus is prominent. And it is situated. And it is situated. Maimata vannata, at the periphery. It is situated at the periphery. It is situated at the periphery of the cytoplasm. So here's the cytoplasm. So this is periphery. Me අද්දකට වෙන්න තියෙන්නේ. Not in the middle. Okay, so you can see that here. Nucleus exists at the periphery of the cytoplasm. Adverb එක දාලා කියන්නත් පුළුවන්. Nucleus exists peripherally. Peripherally. Then adverb. How it exists? Peripherally. Okay. So nucleus exists at the periphery of the cytoplasm. What about this cell wall? ප්‍රාථමික සෛල බිත්තිය. Primary cell wall එක විතරයි තියෙන්නේ. And it is thin. Okay, next take down. Cell wall is thin. Cell wall is thin. And only primary cell wall can be seen. මොකක්ද ඒ කියන්නේ? What's that? This is a typical plant cell. Okay, this is the middle lamella, and this is the primary cell wall. How it exists? Primary cell wall. I quickly draw this. Don't worry, some of lines are not straight. Okay. So this is the primary cell wall of nearby cells. Surrounding cells, primary cell wall. Good. So this is cytoplasm, and you can see large central vacuole and the nucleus. So when I draw this, and this nuclear envelopes, okay, and the endoplasmic reticulum, so all these things. When the cell is growing old, so this becomes non-living, and gradually before that secondary cell wall starts to deposit over this. Look at this secondary cell wall. Then this becomes very hard. Okay, when secondary cell wall exists, gradually it is becoming non-living. The cell becomes dead and it is harder. But in these primary or these simple permanent tissues, first type parenchyma tissues, we can see only primary cell wall exist, and it's also thin. Both ebeno. Okay, very light and smooth. Okay, next point, take down. What's the shape? spherical cells. So we call that isodiametric. Isodiametric, right? Cells are in the shape of isodiametric. So that isodiametric cells are isodiametric. So mean of that spherical, golakarai, spherical. Next one, large. What's this? Large central vacuole exist. Large central vacuole exist. Large central vacuole exist. So we could not mention these intercellular spaces. Intercellular spaces are prominent. Next one, intercellular spaces are prominent. Intercellular spaces are prominent. Okay, we have only 5 minutes. Efficiently මෙයාගේ functions ටිකත් කරලා දාමු. Okay. Where these parenchyma cells exist? කොහෙද මේගොල්ලෝ ඉන්නේ? Where it exists? Now take down the topic locations. 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 Okay. Then quickly and the gun on. Okay. So this is a plant stem. මුල පොඩ්ඩක් පෙන්වන්න ඇඳලා දැම්මා. That's all. And this is the cross section. Cross section. So what exists in the middle? plant stem වල middle එකේ තියෙන pith කියලා එකක්. manioc වල මඤ්ඤොක්කා අර ඇතුලෙන් කෝට්ටක් දාලා ගාපුවාම එළියට ගැලවිලා එන්නේ ලස්සන සුදු පාට එකක්. body කියලා කියන්නේ අපි ඒක. body. හරි? ලැජ්ජ වෙන්න එපා ඒ වචනේ අපි posh නෑනේ අපි. body කියන්නේ. හරි? So that's the pith. Pith. And you can see this in a xylem. පුතා sketch එක ඉක්මනට ගන්න. xylem. And what's this? මේ මොකද්ද? Vascular cambium. කලින් ඉගෙන ගත්තා. Vascular cambium middle. Okay. So what's around next? Inner pith, then xylem, then vascular cambium. So this is phloem. Phloem. එයාටත් පිටින් කවුරු හරි ඉන්නවාද? So what's exterior to that? කවුද ඉන්නේ? So that's. So we call that cortex. 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 Okay. So this pith and cortex එකේ කවුද ඉන්නේ? Parenchyma. Okay. Take down first one. In the pith and cortex. In the pith and cortex. In the pith and cortex. Next. In leaves. in leaves අනිත් දවසේ මම plant leaf එකක් ඇතුලේ ඇඳලා ලස්සනට පෙන්නනවා හරි in leaves වල තියෙන parenchymaට නමක් කියනවා there's a name for these parenchyma cells in leaves we call that mesophyll cells mesophylls mesophylls mesophyll cells. Okay, when these parenchyma cells exist in leaves, we call them mesophyll cells. There are two types of mesophyll cells, elongated one. Okay, so that's another type of mesophyll cells. Of that's also parenchyma cell. We call that palisade mesophyll. Right? බෝල වගේ තියෙන ස්පෙරිකල් වලට කියනවා ස්පොන්ජි mesophyll කියලා. Palisade mesophyll, spongy mesophyll. Next week කියලා දෙන්නම් ඈ. Okay, in leaves mesophyll. Next one, fleshy parts. Fleshy parts. Fleshy parts of the fruit. We have only 1 minute. තව විනාඩියයි තියෙන්නේ. Pith and cortex of pith and cortex. මෙතන ළමයි ලියා ගන්න pith and cortex තියෙනවා shoot එකේ. stem එකෙත් තියෙනවා තව කොහෙද? root එකෙත් තියෙනවා. stem and root. දෙකේම තියෙනවා මේක හරි. So this pith and cortex exist in stem as well as these roots වලත් තියෙනවා. It exists in roots also. Okay. Next, in seeds. Seeds caught again in seeds, that fleshy part. Okay. Endosperm. Okay, so here's the seed and seed coat. So this is called endosperm. In seeds, endosperm. So our allocated time is over. Our allocated time is over. So I want your comments. All of you know my number. Okay, so your group admin විදියට මගේ number එක ඇති. So comment එකක් දාන්න WhatsApp comment එකක්. Not here. What are the weak points? I am so flexible to accept them. මොන හරි තව add කරන්න තියෙනවද? What are the things to be added? Okay, videos and animations. So simulations, so we can add. හුඟක් දේවල් කරන්න පුළුවන් online class එක. Time restriction එකක් තියෙන්නේ ඒකත් අහගන්න. Time එක 4 hours. ඇයද 4 hour කළේ නැත්තේ. තාම පුරුදු නැහැ. So week by week we increase the time. Okay, initially I did this 2 hours. Okay, now let's discuss this later. Next week Api 2.5 3 hours. So likewise let's increase. ඔයාලටම තේරෙනවා මම ටිකක් වේගෙන් ඉගෙනුවා. මොකද time එක මදි. 4 hours වත් ඕනේ. හරි? අපි කාට හරි පුතේකට සින්දුවක් කියන්න දීලා. ඈ කාට හරි දුවෙකුට camera on කරන් dance එකක් කරන්න දීලා. So these things can be done. Okay, so thank you all of you. Have a nice night and see you again. May I switch on your microphones? My microphone on කරන්නද? Let's see that.